Introduction. One day, around 20 years ago, I was wandering through a bookstore in Brooklyn when I noticed something weird. There were books about music, books about sports, books about art, photography, ichthyology, tantric sex, but few about video games. Had there been such a thing as texting at the time, I would have thought, WTF? I'd grown up during the so-called golden age of gaming in the late 1970s and early 80s, weaned on the Atari 2600, Merlin, Simon, Mattel Football, Defender, Galaga, and my personal favorite, Crazy Climber. By now, the mid-90s, we were deep into computer games, particularly the swelling wave of first-person shooters, most notably Doom. The first big web browser, Netscape, had just been released, and a new generation of games online seemed inevitable. Why then, I wondered, wasn't I seeing more books chronicling this world? 2 decades later, here I am, writing this new afterword to the book that resulted from that epiphany, Masters of Doom, the story of John Carmack and John Romero, co-creators of the seminal shooters Doom and Quake and their company id Software. First published in 2003, the book chronicles how Carmack and Romero rose from broken homes to create some of the most influential and controversial games of their generation. To me, it was a class tale of gumption and innovation, and an inspirational one at that. In the years since the book came out, I've reported many stories about gamers and game developers, several of which are included in this collection, who cite the two Johns as influences. If Carmack and Romero could do what they did, many people think, so can I. As Carmack says toward the end of the book when he tells me about their legacy, in the information age, the barriers just aren't there. The barriers are self-imposed. If you want to set off and go develop some grand new thing, you don't need millions of dollars of capitalization. You need enough pizza and Diet Coke to stick in your refrigerator, a cheap PC to work on, and the dedication to go through with it. So what grand new things have Carmack and Romero been up to since Masters of Doom's publication? As you might expect, plenty. For Romero, the original rock star of the game industry, the past decade has been lower profile but highly productive, often in ways that many of his most ardent fans and critics might not realize. When I last wrote about Romero, in the 2004 edition of Masters of Doom, he and id Software co-founder Tom Hall had moved to San Diego to work for Midway, creator of Mortal Kombat and other classic games. But before long, he was back on his own again. In 2005, Romero moved to Silicon Valley and co-founded a new development studio, Slipgate Ironworks, a nod to the teleporters in Quake. When announcing his plans, he hit back against the gamers who still took him to task for his post-id shooter, Daikatana. Hey, Daikatana's old news now, he said at the time. And the fact that everyone remembers that particular game instead of the dozens of other games I've made just shows how negatively slanted the media is. Negativity sells. He also hinted that gamers would likely be surprised to see what was coming from him next. What came were massively multiplayer online games, or MMOs, a genre that was gaining popularity with the recently released World of Warcraft and had long been of interest to him. Romero folded his company into another he co-founded, Gazillion Entertainment, which struck a high-profile deal to develop MMOs for Marvel, and gobbled up NetDevil, the company behind another high-profile online brand, the Lego Universe. Though the MMOs would have mixed success, Romero was soon pursuing new games and a new relationship. Brenda Brathwaite was a veteran game designer and one of the most influential women in what had long been a male-dominated industry. She and Romero had plenty in common, having seen the changes in this business over 4 decades.